The Bravo door motor is accessible from the unit's right side and through the cutout in the chassis. To start, turn off the unit, disconnect the power, and remove the right panel. Pull the unit forward so that the front feet overhang the work surface. Under the unit, remove one of the screws holding the door motor access panel to the chassis. Loosen the other one and pivot the panel out of the way. Remove the 4 screws holding the door motor to the door motor bracket. As you remove the door motor from the right side, note that there is a motor joint that rests freely on the top of the door motor. You will need this piece. Disconnect the wires and remove the old motor. Before inserting a new door motor, there are a few things you should inspect. Make sure the 3 screws on the top mounting plate of the motor are secure. Wiggle the gearbox to make sure it is not loose. Check the bottom of the motor to make sure the spring and brass are intact. Check that the motor joint you removed from the unit slides freely in the slot at the top of the new motor. If the motor joint does not slide easily, use a file to enlarge the groove. The orientation of the door motor is important. The door motor should be installed with the label facing the right side of the unit. You should also perform this task with the door open. Start by connecting the motor wires. Connect the white wire to the label side. And the black wire to the other side. Insert the motor joint and test fit the motor into position. The motor joint is the link between the motor and the door hook. If the motor joint engages easily, the motor's screw plate will be flush with the door motor bracket. If it does not fit flush, it will need to be aligned. Aligning the door motor to the door mechanism is a matter of finding the correct position for the slot on the door joint so that it is fully engaged. You may have to rotate the gear motor coupling at the top of the motor to find the correct position. To do this, you'll have to access the door lock menu. Hold the button under the SCI of the SciCan logo and power on the unit. On units with GAM boards, the hidden button is located behind the Drytec logo. But before you can use this button on GAM board units, you need to remove jumper X21 from the top left corner of the board. Use the door lock menu to control the motor. To turn the motor 1/4 turn, Start by holding down the microswitch button inside the unit's right side. Then, on the LCD, press Enter. This will turn the shaft 1/4 turn. Activate the motor in quarter turns to find the right position. Now put the motor, holding the motor joint at the top, back into position and move the door hook to try to engage it. You may have to repeat this process. Do this until the motor joint engages with the door mechanism. When the motor engages correctly, the motor screw plate will be flush with the door motor bracket. While holding the door motor in place, load the screwdriver with a screw and fasten the motor to the bracket. Then insert the other 3 screws. With the LCD still on the door locking menu screen, press Enter. This will reset the motor to its default position. To get back to the Bravo standby screen, press the first button on the left. From the standby screen, press and hold the first button on the left for 5 seconds to access the setup menu. If you are prompted for a password, press the minus key 8 times and then press Enter. If there's no password, just press Enter. Scroll to the service menu and press Enter. Enter the service password. Scroll to Device Test and select Manual Test. Select Locking Device and press Enter. With the door open, press Enter to activate the door locking mechanism. If all seems to be working correctly, close the door and press Enter to lock the door in the closed position. With the test complete, press the first key on the left to get back to the standby menu. Reinstall the door motor access panel on the chassis. Reinstall the right panel.